You're Never Too Old for Space Camp by Tom Anselm. Chapter 2. Amidst the clamor and confusion, I wound my way to my special education classroom. Not being one for room feng shui, I had at least thumbtacked a bunch of sports pennants and old pictures of former baseball players and a collection of hats to the wall. That was the extent of my room decor. It was here where I would officially meet my 13 students for homeroom. They were the kids whose educational progress would be under my auspices for the next 186 school days. Most of them had absolutely no idea what to expect of me. But I had a leg up on them, having talked to their 7th grade teachers and read some of their info in their files. I had learned to not give too much weight to the file review. I wondered the basics like their disability and idea about the discipline record, whether they threw desks, that sort of thing. Something I needed to know to survive the first few days and to get the kids off to a good start. Too often, though, the records and reports and goals and write-ups didn't tell the whole story, didn't give me a true picture of a kid. That took time. I had to talk to them and look them in the eye, see whether they had a soul, or whether they'd laugh at my jokes. At this middle school age, where a kid could change virtually overnight, you had to give them a chance to show who they were here and now. And then you could maybe, with a little luck and the stars in the correct position, get them to where they wanted to be in the coming months. The scholars entered and took seats where they wished. I'm not a stickler for seating charts unless little Jimmy can't keep his hands to himself or Sally can't shut her trap to save her life. I said hello and watched as they made themselves comfortable as possible. And I wondered, does this kid have the tools to be a student? Like a pencil, a binder, a daily planner? The basics. Is that guy with the droopy pants ever going to sit down? Why does that young girl with pretty eyes dress like she's working the corner after school? And most importantly, will I be able to give them what they need this year? The bell sounded and we're off. Okay, friends, let's all have a seat and listen. My name is Mr. Akers. You can call me Mr. A or Mr. Akers, whichever you like. I don't care as long as you don't call me late for dinner. Yes, a lame-o joke to start off the proceedings. Still, how they reacted was telling. Some kids groaned, some grinned. Some had no idea what I just said, either because they weren't listening or they weren't accustomed to puns and stupid sayings. And some were too cool to show any reaction, or too afraid. And that was okay. With that awful line, I'd let them know that I wasn't going to be a butthead grouch, but that I did want them to listen when I spoke. I only have a few rules for my room, I said with the emphasis on my room. I wanted to establish early on that they were guests and must carry on in a certain manner. One thing when I am talking, you are not. Simple enough. You will always have your chance, but I need mine first. It's a basic rule of manners. 2. When you come through the door, your first job is to find a seat. Wandering around is dangerous to your health and my blood pressure. You don't write, you can't write, or read, or find the perimeter of a rectangle if you're standing up, unless you're at the board. And last, be respectful, both to me and to each other. I inserted a slight pause. Any questions? As expected, someone spoke up. Yes. Mr. A, are you Sammy Lee Brown? I said to the average-sized kid with reddish-brown dreadlocks. He was somewhat surprised that I knew his name. Yeah, so Mr. A, why do we have to be in here? It was an honest question, one he probably had asked his research teacher every year. Good question, Sammy. I can give you the official answer or the one I like better. Which one do you want to hear? He seemed intrigued that there were two answers. He went for the second. Okay, the real reason. The other kids were all listening, even the girl with the short skirt who had so far acted like she was totally bored with all of this. This question was on all of their minds, after all, and how they handled the answer would be a good clue as to how much we would accomplish in the months to come. The real reason is, somewhere along the way in this glorious journey that has been school for you, each of you has had some troubles. Maybe in math, maybe in reading, maybe in writing. Or maybe you've had problems getting along with adults or other kids. Or maybe all of the above. Well, these things have affected how you learned, how you handle classes, what grades you get, and we ain't stupid, you know, said Janae Willis, the bored little lady, as she flipped her hand and gave a classic roll of her deep brown eyes. No, Janae, you are not. None of you are. Terry Halster, a long-haired, tall boy who looked like he shaved twice a day, joined in. When does the bell ring? This kid should be interesting. I chose to ignore the comment. Janae is correct. You all have the ability to pass these classes. It might be harder for some than others, but you can do it. But you have to listen to me as I try to help you overcome any troubles you've had in the past, or might have in the future. I know that even if you can read a 500-page novel, but don't turn in your homework in English, you won't pass. Or if you have no problems with doing quadratic equations, but don't take notes in math class, you won't pass. So that's what I can help you figure out. I was getting their attention. Even Terry Halster's. It's a miracle. In the long run, in school and in life, we usually get what we deserve. It's up to you what you want to put into it. It seemed I was beginning to preach, so I changed direction. Something you have to do a lot in middle school. Now, I have a question for you. I walked to the front of the room and sat on an old bar stool that I'd gotten from my father-in-law. Who wants to be a freshman in high school next year? They all raised their hands, of course. And who wants to do Cedar Grove Experience one more time? No hands. Well, and good, because that's my main job, to help you all get out of here. And if you become a better student along the way, so much the better. I went on a bit about how I'm not their friend, but could be friendly. Hated writing referrals, but would if taken past a certain point. And told them about myself and my family. Then one girl, who was thankfully snickering a bit at my earlier attempts at humor, spoke up. She wore a blue t-shirt and athletic shorts and pink Converse high tops. Obviously, a jockette. Her bleached out brown hair was in a short ponytail, and she wore little makeup, if any. She appeared to be mixed racially, with lighter brown skin and hazel eyes. Her name was Melanie Moore. Who are our teachers going to be on our team? Are they nice? Now here was a thoughtful child trying to get a head start. She might just have what it takes to break out of the cycle of school struggle. Our team is the best in the school, and not just because I am on it. Pause for a laugh. None forthcoming. I continued, we have Mr. Rayleigh for social studies. Ms. Nolte is the English teacher. Miss Nolte. She's that one teacher, the one with the nice blonde hair. She's sweet, right, Mr. A? Sammy interjected. Yes, sir, Sammy, but don't butt in, please. Thank you. So there's Miss Nolte and Miss Pollard for science, and the math teacher is Miss Wilson Brown. This last name brought a few groans. Hey, now be nice. She may be tough, but by the end of the year, if you do what she says, you will be ready for high school math. Trust me, I've seen it happen, even with the kids who have trouble with the subject. More grumbling. I had to laugh at their responses. Most of these kids knew the teachers by reputation only. It reminded me not to make the same mistake as I attempted to understand my new charges. With only a few minutes left in homeroom, we busied ourselves with making sure everyone knew where to go next, had their schedules, something to write with. 3 had nothing. Shirts tucked in, IDs hanging where they should be seen, prepared for action. The bell buzzed and they scrambled to the door. I raised my hand as if to bless them. Godspeed, my children, I said with mock solemnity. A few smiled as they pushed their way into the stream of bodies flowing through the hall. And away they went, seeking their fortunes in what they hoped would be their last year at Cedar Groves Middle School.